Oh, all those states?
Uh-huh.
$4 million. Of
What
course,
does
that
it-
was when $4 million was a lot.
What does it say 23 here?
What, for the Louisiana Purchase?
Uh-huh.
I thought it was $4 million. I could be wrong. That might be including the Indian claims. Okay,
54.
cheap, still, come on. Maybe $4 million was Alaska. That'd be about right.
Alaska was 7 million.
Oh, hush. Anyway, it was really, really cheap. Basically, the finest farmland in the world, possibly outside of the Ukraine, was right in the middle of there. You could plow, you could break the prairie and plant anything, and it would grow. And really, in terms of the actual Indian population, it was fairly belligerent, but not that large. And that was the problem. Question 12. What was the impresario system in Texas? And that is in the book.
What page?
I don't know. You got to know your Texas. Those are questions that are liable to be on the SIT exam. Stephen F. or Moses Austin was an impresario. The government of Mexico allowed him to organize groups of settlers, and they would come in like the original. When they talk about Stephen F. Austin's original 300, that was the original 300 families that he brought in, and an impresario got a huge grant of land, which he then settled his people on, and then everybody got their land. He got a bunch of extra land that he could then sell off. So he would become, reasonably wealthy. Stephen F. Austin did not become wealthy. He was not broke, mostly, but basically when Texas became independent, there wasn't enough coin in that whole state. There wasn't enough money to organize a government. So all we had was land. Land was essentially the currency. So impresarios were recognized by the government of Mexico to bring in settlers. It was supposed to be a buffer zone against the United States expansion. What could possibly go wrong with this plan? Yeah. Question 13 is loaded. What was the nature of Native American land ownership before treaties were signed?
Probably angry.
Well, I'm not asking about their attitude. What was the nature of their ownership? We could spend a whole class on that. It was tribal, and it was basically, the idea of land ownership was totally alien to most, to any, unless you were Cherokee. They understood land ownership and settlement. But the Plains Indians tribes, which is mostly everything west of the Mississippi, they did not have settlements. They had, yearly campsites. And as a result, the Europeans who settled there did not recognize that they owned the land on which they rode. European settlers called it infestation. So it didn't meet European ideas for what land ownership should be. European ideas were settlement and production, and the Indians didn't either. they would gather resources from the land, but they didn't, it was against, all of their ideas of propriety to mine minerals. Only very rarely would they mine things like copper and steelite, which they used for making smoking pipes. You made it.
Yeah, man, I brought pizza last time,
Yeah.
but unfortunately I had some issues getting here.
Yeah, well, I noticed that there was neither you nor pizza.
Yeah, I went and got pizza, and on my way to getting pizza, I brought my Camaro, and I destroyed the distributor in it. I may or may not have been racing somebody.
How do you destroy a distributor?
Because it's an OptiSpark unit, and it's all one piece, and it,
Oh, yeah, well,
newfangled shit, that's what it
okay,
is.
yeah. Anyway, we'll be through in about 10 minutes.
All right.
Crank it up and open your email, because I emailed you a PDF copy of Chapter 2 of the book that we were working on last class. Had you been here to work on it?
Yeah, speaking of which, I got a new phone, too.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Don't ride in the Ranger with your phone in the side pocket.
Oh, it'll get smushed.
That happened
Yeah.
last time, too.
Okay.
No, it didn't
Well,
get
let
smushed
us
in a
finish
while.
our little law class first. So crank up your computer and check your email. Also, before treaty, only a sovereign power can enter into a treaty, correct? Before the treaty, they were sovereign powers. After the treaty, what were they? That's not me. What was their legal position after signing the treaties with the United States? They were sovereign. They were a sovereign power. What were they after the signing of the treaties? I'm talking about Medicine Lodge. Pick a treaty, any treaty. Wards of the state. Kind of a come down, isn't it? Okay, we answered question 14.
What's the password?
Lab.
That's easy enough.
What are the differences between the Northwest Ordinance of 1785, the Act of May 18, 1796, and the Act of February 11th, 1805?
Did you skip 15?
Yeah, because we sort of... the three premises, that's right. What do you have to do? That was important, so that I did mention it. And I didn't make it up. Yeah, there it is. Oh, this different thing altogether. Page 242. Moses Austin, whose son Stephen Austin is known as the father of the Texas Republic, and his associates were granted land in Missouri in 1797. That, I will guarantee you, material like that will be on your RPLS exam. They are serious about you knowing Texas history. I think I skipped that. May have to do that next Tuesday or next Thursday. Three premises of the PLSS. It's in the book. I forgot exactly where. What's the difference between the Northwest Ordinance of 1785? What is, you found it?
253.
253.
It says the
Oh,
system has some
yeah.
basic-
Okay, since you found it, you read it.
The system has some basic premises or requirements. All adverse titles of land granted by the prior sovereigns would be recognized. All titles of the Indians would first be extinguished. There would be no settlement prior to the land being surveyed.
Okay. If you had a prior French settlement or Spanish settlement, those, and that would go up all the way through the Treaty of, Guadalupe Hidalgo and beyond. The prior claims would be recognized. That way you don't have, like, when the Romans took over territory, they really took over territory. And so, when William the Conqueror took over England, what happened to all those, estates and, people who had titles? They no longer had titles. That was the difference we were trying to achieve. We wanted there to be basically continuity of ownership. And so you didn't have a redistribution of existing estates. So in California, you had a lot of ranchos that maintained their identity and maintained their land ownership after California became a state. And the title to the Indian lands were extinguished by action of the government. Private individuals could not enter into treaties with the Indians. That's basically what that means. And that no settlement prior to the land being surveyed. When you hear about Oklahoma Sooners, well, the land was surveyed, but it wasn't open for settlement until a certain date. People, of course, jumped the gun. And there was actually a gun on the border prior to the settlement of Oklahoma. That was a signal for people, starting up their wagons to choose the choice land. Basically, the Northwest Ordinance established the public land surveying system. Act of May 18, 1796. It changed it some, and then 1805 really solidified the process. The 7 ranges were the first parts of Ohio to be surveyed. It was kind of like they didn't know how difficult the job would actually be. First off, they would, survey every other mile. Well, that works out if you have your bases down cold. They didn't. Ohio is basically practice. And it's kind of like Texas. If you can survey in Ohio, you can survey anywhere. Because you've got so many different laws and rules. You've got whole cities that they expanded the state just so that they could have that little piece of the lake. Like Toledo. They wanted a port there, and they got it. Let's see, the Act of 1805. 1796, the post of Surveyor General was established, pay rate of $2,000 per year, which was pretty good money back then. He was the first Surveyor General. And okay. The Act of 1805, 261, there we go, going backwards in time. Yep. How to establish, how to monument the survey. The work that was done in Ohio set the, it laid the groundwork for what was done throughout the rest of the country, Texas excluded. The answer to the Act of February 1805 is on page 261, and the ordinance of 1796 is on page 260. So, okay, you're going to run into this. You've got it. I want you to read them. Go, and you don't have to do it before Thursday. There isn't time. I'd rather you get on with the readings that we have to do.
Well, you want us to go in and read the whole.
Read.
Is that what
I want you to
okay.
read Tiffin's instructions.
Oh, okay. Is that?
They're
in
not
the
long.
PDF?
It's in the PDF, and it's fairly well. It's in the catalog. What do you call it? The list of where things are in the book index.
Okay.
It's in the index. Look it up. Read it. You can probably wiki it and get it, but you'll be getting it from that document in the wiki article, so it doesn't matter. But Tiffin's instructions were the first ones written down, and that formed the basis. In that big book is every set of instructions, every manual through 1905. And then everything from 1905 on you can get. I gave you the 1947 manual, and the 1983 manual is still available online. Now we've got a new one. Basically, the manuals cover the land being surveyed for separation from public domain. When you go to resurvey a piece of land that was surveyed under a set of rules, if you're reestablishing corners or lines, you have to follow the rules that were in effect when the land was partitioned. So that's why it's very important that if you're going to practice in the square states, you know what rules were in effect at that location at that time. So Tiffin's instructions are important because they were the first ones written down and the first ones that gave instructions to surveyors to follow. So that's it for now. Take a break. Open your emails because I sent you a PDF book for the GIS class. Since I did get a reply back, and it was, we don't know anything about that. Oh, that order. They had our orders for the books. They found our orders for the books.
I didn't get an email from you though.
I thought I sent you one. Oh, I didn't send you one up. Well, I did send you one today.
I haven't gotten one yet. I just checked it.
Okay. You're supposed to, it'll have, if you don't have it, I'll give it to you. It's the PDF of Chapter 2.
Okay.
You're going to be following that. You're actually going to have to do some GIS this evening instead of just talking about it.
Oh man, you guys, wow, school's burning down.
Hmm?